It's time for the Hockey Writers Grindline, a weekly show covering everything Detroit Red Wings. Brought to you by our own iconic top line of Wings writers. Sit back and enjoy The Grind.
Welcome to the Hockey Writers Grindline, brought to you by the Morning Skate, the Hockey Writers morning newsletter that is jam-packed with the best hockey stuff on the planet. Sign up today at morningskate.io for free delivery to your inbox Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And also drop us a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay on top of all of the best Hockey Writers content. I'm your host, Kyle Knopp, and I am joined by my panel of teammates today, Matthew Zator. Matt, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Enjoying the season preview shows where we'll be getting to the Red Wings eventually, but happy to join the show again.
Thank you for being on. And Logan Horn, our two Canadian Red Wing teammates. Logan, how are you doing today? Do you have a long weekend as well up in Canada this weekend?
I'm doing well. We do have the long weekend. So
awesome.
That'll be nice. And the weather's looking way too hot here in Calgary. But I guess that's a good thing. I don't know.
You were also mentioning right before we hit record that it's getting to the end of summer. So yeah, we are at Labor Day, and as all of our listeners, especially in Michigan, can understand, that is pretty much the end of summer. So, and then as always, Devin Little. Devin, how are you today?
Always happy to be here with you boys. Excited because we have it's Labor Day weekend, long weekend, and then it's September, which means hockey is literally right around the corner. So doing really good.
Well, that's going to jump right into our first segment, one good, one bad. Devin, you mentioned it. It is September, and that brings me to my one good, and that is football season, college football season. But that also leads me to my bad, which is, Devin, you're not going to be happy in a few hours. And that's because, unfortunately, my Spartans are going to have to take down your Broncos there. So, I think we should put a little friendly wager on this. And I'll tell you what, if Western pulls this off, I will send you a case of Verner's Black Cherry. But should the Spartans win, you have to host the Grindline next week.
You had me at Verner's.
I love it. All right,
Devin's a simple man.
Yeah, I'll come to you then. Give me one good and one bad from this past week. And obviously, does not have to be hockey related.
Well, my one good is that if my Broncos win, I'm getting more black cherry burgers, everybody. So I can't even talk.
Excited.
Also, yep, like I mentioned, it's September. Training camp starts in a matter of weeks now. You don't have to flip the calendar to count the days. You're in the month now. And then my bad is I'm just going to kind of repeat what you just said. I'm not exactly betting on the Broncos to win tonight, but if they lose, I just hope that it's a good game, right?
I hope both teams have fun.
I just hope they have fun.
All right, that's excellent. Logan, over to you. Give me one good and one bad from this past week.
So I came up with these at different times and then only just now realized that they're for the same team. They're both related to the Sabres. The Buffalo Sabres, my good for the week is that they're bringing back the goat head jersey as I think for 11 home games, which is quite a lot. That's like a full-time alternate. Those jerseys look sweet. The logo is slightly updated. The new shading and colors, it looks sweet. It's awesome. It's another great nostalgia jersey that they've updated and brought back. They brought back that gold and royal blue one. That's a beautiful jersey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then immediately people were like, okay, but also the goat head. You can't keep anyone happy. But that's my good. My bad isn't necessarily a bad, but it's Tage Thompson's new contract extension he just signed. 7 years, what is it? About $7.1 million a year.
Mm.
It's a pretty big bet on a guy who's had one good season.
Yeah.
Because I wrote down here, so he had 38 goals, 68 points last year, which is incredible. But in his previous 145 games, he only had 35 points. So that's a big bet on a single breakout year, which gives me major Jeff Skinner vibes. But
Ironic.
It'll probably be okay. We'll see. I don't know. It seems like he should not have had enough leverage to get that high of a contract after 1 year. So we'll see how that ages.
I would like to mend my good to add that Logan Horn reads the morning skate, because we covered both of those topics this morning in today's edition, or on Friday's edition. We're recording on Friday, obviously. So, yeah. All right. Matthew, over to you. One good, one bad from the week.
Well, my good, I mentioned at the top, is that the season previews are starting, which means the season is almost here.
Yes.
And, lots of preparation to happen for everything to get going. But, hockey, prospect tournaments are coming up 2 weeks. We're out 2 weeks out from a few of them. So it's going to be fun to start actually writing about hockey that's happening. Mm-hmm. And, prospects are, of course, one of my passions. So anything about prospects, we got some great stuff coming up. So that's going to be fun. That's my good. Bad is that it's still 2 weeks away. It's still a bit out. So so going off both of those things, and that goat head jersey, really, I actually missed it. You never know what you miss until it's gone. And you see it and you're like, they should bring that back full time. They're really nice. So I'll add that in as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're both, all of you are very right. I think one thing that none of us talked about, we kind of alluded to it with the jerseys, but we could kind of throw in there, and maybe we'll talk about it. Let's go in 2 weeks, because I probably will not be here next week. But is the release of the reverse retro 2.0 and what that might look like for the Red Wings. I heard a rumor floating around, maybe the Detroit Cougars logo could make a comeback, which would be kind of cool. But they dropped the ball 2 years ago with the original reverse retro, so let's hope they don't do that again. But Matt, shameless plug real quick. Matt and I have been hosting the team previews for the Hockey Writers podcast. So you mentioned previews. Let's get right into player previews for the Detroit Red Wings. And we are going to start with Jakub Vrana. And so I want to get your thoughts on or expectations. Is a healthy Vrana one of the keys to a successful season? And let's start with Logan.
Sure. I think so. One of the keys is a good way to put it. He's played very few games, a really small sample size for the Red Wings, just 37 games, but he has 21 goals, which is insane. It's a 47 goal pace over a full 82 game season. I do not, just to be honest, do not expect him to score 47 goals. Maybe not even 40.
Like 50?
Yeah, I was thinking 50.
Higher.
But, like in a full season, if he can be above 30, maybe above 35, that is a huge win.
Yeah.
That's a huge win. And I think it's pretty realistic if he's healthy, considering the improvements to the top six with David Perron and Andrew Kopp. I think like if he plays that well and scores that many goals, then that really takes a lot of pressure off the top line to run the entire offense, which would be huge. And one of the keys, because he's just one of the members of that theoretical second line, but still, it'll be huge.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. He will have a lot more firepower this year, so staying healthy will be huge for him. Matthew, I'd like to get your thoughts on player previews and expectations for Vrana. Is his health, or is a healthy Vrana, the key to a successful season for the Red Wings?
Yeah, I agree with Logan. I mean, he's probably one of the key players on the team. And yes, there is more. I mean, you mentioned Perron, you mentioned Kopp. But having him healthy and scoring at a close to a pace of even if he scores 25, I mean, that's still pretty good. 25 goal scorer, and then you got Perron scoring 20, you got Kopp going to be close to 20. That's pretty good for your three of the forwards in your top six. So I mean, and Vrana, his health is the biggest thing. I mean, he's not in the lineup, he's not scoring at all because he's not there. Yeah. So if he stays healthy, I could definitely see, like he showed last year, like Logan said, 47 goal pace. So if he can do something close, I mean, it would be great if he scored 40, obviously, but like I say, 25, 28, 30. I mean, that's still a really good season for a guy that is definitely a top six forward on this team, and he's a big part of the teams and the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think anytime you can get a 20 plus goal scorer on your team, sitting in that middle six, that's huge. So Devin, your thoughts on Jakub Vrana? Is his health, the healthy Vrana, one of the keys to a successful season?
Absolutely. And I think that anytime Vrana does anything, it's always just like an opportunity to dunk on Anthony Mantha, which is always kind of fun because that trade definitely is the most lopsided thing Yzerman's done in a while. I mean, just to kind of echo what Logan and Matt have already said, he's already shown in his limited games with the Red Wings, which is kind of crazy because he's been with the Wings now for a season and a half, is that he's shown he can score and he can create something out of nothing, basically. I can think of multiple times in his 37 games where he's had like the puck like along the boards basically, and like he's like falling awkwardly and he shoots it, it still goes in. Like he just has that ability to make something out of nothing. And that makes him like the bona fide sniper on this team. If he, like Logan said, he certainly should be able to get to 30 if he stays healthy and everything kind of goes the way that they have since he joined the Red Wings. And I think that with the added firepower, right, all the added depth to the roster, I think that he really might be in a position to kind of feast on lesser competition, because if right now the expectation is that he's going to be on the second line, and that means if the first line is doing what they should be doing, Vrana will have the talent next to him on his line, and he'll be facing lesser competition, and he should easily put up 25, 30, 35 goals. And that's, if you have that kind of guy who was an add-on in the Anthony Mantha trade, definitely going to be a key part of this team. You need guys who can score goals, and Vrana's shown that that's what he does. That's what his game is all about.
So I was trying to wait to answer because I wanted all of you give your opinions first. And so to me, I think not only is a healthy Vrana one of the keys to a successful season, because you need Vrana, the Red Wings need Vrana for that playoff push. If they are going to make a playoff push and be that kind of team that is one step closer to making it where they need to be, and a full season healthy Vrana is a key to the strength and core of this team moving forward. I also think the biggest expectation for Vrana is he needs to be consistent. Yes. It's one thing to be a 20, 25 goal scorer, but if you're putting up, 15 goals in the first month, and then you don't score another goal until the last 2 weeks of the season, like that's not good. You need to have that consistency. So I think that is where the key to a successful season will come from, is not only if he is healthy, but if he can continue to produce at a consistent pace as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's move over to defensive side of the puck right now. We're going to talk about Filip Hronek and get your expectations on him. So I'm going to come over to Matthew first. Hronek was mentioned as a make it or break it player a few weeks ago on this show. So what will constitute a successful season for the 24-year-old?
Well, Hronek's not the number one defenseman anymore, which is great for the Red Wings.
Yeah,
he used to be their best defenseman. So you have Matthew Zator here now, and he's the legitimate number one top pairing guy. And Hronek can maybe just kind of, I don't want to say fade into the background, but, be effective being himself. And, you guys joked about him being the guy that scores empty netters all the time. But I mean, he's still, like you mentioned, 24 years old. He still has quite a bit of height in his potential. I mean, usually athletic prime, what is it, 25? So, I mean, he's just approaching that. So I think he can still be an effective guy. And, you say what's success for him? Just being consistently good on both sides of the puck. So good offensively, good defensively, support whoever his partner is, depending on who it is. Probably not going to be with Zator. Maybe, is he a right or a left? I can't remember.
He's a righty.
Right. So he could play with Zator. So I mean, if he plays in the top pairing, then he's going to just have to, support Zator as much as he can and be good defensively, which is, I think, is the biggest thing for him. But like I said, he's good all around. He has a chance to be one of the better defensemen on the Red Wings this year, and he's still one of the younger guys, and that's good. We kind of talked about him being maybe trade bait not that long ago, but I think he's still part of this core that Yzerman is building on defense. I mean, there's you got Simon Edvinsson coming up. There's going to be a point where it will be, for sure make it or break it for him, because he's not going to have a spot in that top four. So we'll see what he does, but I think a successful season is just him being good on both sides, being a good two-way defenseman.
And you can never be mad at two-way defensemen. So if you're producing on both sides of the puck, your coach will never get upset with you, right? So all right, Devin, coming over to you. What constitutes a successful season for the 24-year-old Hronek?
What constitutes a successful season for Filip Hronek is if we head into the off season and around this time next year, we're not talking about Hronek as kind of a bubble make it or break it guy, right? If that means that he's entrenched himself as a player that is a part of the core and is going to be with the team for the foreseeable future. Still has 2 or 3 years left on his deal. I believe it's 3. So he's got plenty of time. There's plenty of runway for him to, entrench himself, but also, to go right back to that Mantha deal. Yzerman's already showed that just because you have term on your deal does not mean that you're safe. So I think what Hronek needs to do, to kind of echo what Matt said, he's got to really work and hone in on his two-way game. He can, he's already proven he can produce points. He's been a half a point player per game guy pretty much since he broke into the league, and that's certainly valuable, especially as a right-handed guy. But it doesn't matter how many points you can put up if you allow just as many points to go against you when you're on the ice. And so for Hronek, that's got to be what he's worked on. He's proven he can make a difference in the offensive end. He needs to start making a difference in the defensive end, or just at least be a net neutral in the defensive end. I don't need to set the bar super high. He does not need to reach Seider's level. He just needs to, provide serious value beyond the points he puts up. And if he can round out his game and be a defenseman that they can trust in pretty much every situation, he's going to be here for a long time. And that's what you're looking for out of these young guys. Because like you said, he's only 24. Would be hard pressed to say that he's in his prime right now. So there's room for him to grow and room for him to develop, but he's gotta, take the ball and run with it, so to speak.
I always hate to rely on plus minus stats for defensemen, especially, because they don't give plus minus for power play penalty kill situations. But I think you're absolutely right. Like, he needs to kind of be able to solidify himself in his own end. And, he does get quite a few power play opportunities, or has in the past. So that kind of skews those numbers. But if he can get, above, even, that's going to be huge for him, because it's going to show that he is producing more 5-on-5 and also stopping the other team from scoring as well. Logan, over to you. Last word on Filip Hronek. What constitutes a successful season for the defenseman?
Basically just going to reiterate what Devin said. He just has to cement a spot. He has to make his role clear on this team going forward. I was just checking, Devin, he does have 2 years left on his contract.
2, okay.
This year and the one after, 4.4 million. So, I mean, that's too much for a bottom pairing guy, but he does not look like a bottom pairing guy at the moment. And I think it's safe to say he's worth the potential for now. But I think a successful season probably looks something like 30 to 40 points again. If you can score 30 plus on the second pairing against slightly weaker competition than Seider will be going against, probably playing with, I like to think, Olimata, just like a defensive guy who can kind of balance out his game. Hopefully he can learn a thing or two about positioning and gap control. And I don't know, he can just become a net zero defender at worst. That would be great, because then he totally makes sense in the top 4 if he can stop up those mistakes a little bit and some of those those weaknesses of his game. But yeah, I think Devin put it great that if we're not talking about him next summer, that's a good thing. It's kind of a no news is good news next summer, you know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If we're not talking about him, then he either cemented himself or the Wings probably traded him away. So he's either here and we don't have to worry about him, or he's not and we don't have to worry about him. So
yeah. And I misspoke. Moritz Seider's a righty, so
yes,
he can
yeah.
play.
Yeah.
I thought I was saying wrong. So yeah. Fact check.
All right. Well, that's going to send us off on our first rush today. So let's get right into it. I'm just going to go across the board as I see you all on my screen. Logan, how many goals will Vrana score this season?
36.
Devin.
My initial reaction was 36. I'll change it up. I'll say 35.
Whoa.
Go Price is Right style.
Yeah.
Well, Logan, you're really going to hate me because I already had 37 in my mind. So,
No.
All right, Matthew.
I'm going to do what I've always done here. I'm going to go higher. I'm going to say 40.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. I like it. I like it. I'd love to see him get 40. All right. Opposite way now. Matthew, starting with you. How many points for Hronek get on the season?
Oh, I'm going to say 30.
Okay. I'm going to say 40 to 45. Devin? Yeah, sorry, I didn't tell you who was next. You have to remember.
I'll say 39.
Okay. Logan?
I'm going for 36 again.
36 again. Keep it nice and simple.
Every prediction from now on, 36.
36.
So wait, how many goals is Adam Vrana going to score?
Ooh, 3.6.
How many points will the Red Wings get this season? 36.
36.
Oh.
Sorry, guys.
How many shutouts will they'll
Yeah,
get
how many
the
shutouts?
82.
32.
All right. Well, we're going to take a little breath and reset the show. This is The Grind Line, and I am your host, Kyle Knopp, here with Devin Little, Matthew Zator, and Logan Horn, and we're talking Red Wings hockey. Before we get back into it, we wanted to remind you to sign up for the Morning Skate, a morning newsletter delivered to your inbox Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, jam-packed with the best hockey stuff on the planet. It's a daily dose of the latest NHL news, rumors, history, funnies, quizzes, and more. Just a little hockey fun and information delivered to you for free from the Hockey Writers. Sign up today at morningskate.io. All right, now that our bills are paid, we're going to talk about the Red Wings prospect tournament roster. And I am actually going to read the roster off because I feel like we should have a little sense for our listeners is what we're talking about. So here is the roster. Forwards: Pascal Zito, Riley Piercy, Jake Urberti. I apologize if I butcher any of these names, because I will. Drew Warren, Trenton Bliss, Cross Hannes, Amadeus Lombardi, Kirill Tuyateyev, Marcus Lempar Lance, Julian Antil, Elmer Salderblom, Ivan Ivan, Matthew, Mitchell Martin. The defense is Simon Edmondson, Albert Johansson, Donovan Sorbrango, Seth Barton, Emil Vero, Oscar Plandowski, and Tinus Mathurin.
Tanias Mathurin.
Tanias Mathurin. I don't think that's a real name. And the goalies are Andrew Oak, Sebastian Kosa, and Jan Bednar. So
you know what?
Bednar.
New segment. Let's just give Kyle a list of names to read off every week.
This could go bad. All right. So
let us know in the comments if you want to see that segment.
Yeah, just put some fake ones in there too.
Mathurin? Yeah, that's not real.
No.
It's nice.
All right, Kyle's hooked on phonics, by the way. Are there any surprising names on this list or notable omissions? And Matthew, our prospect guru, I'm going to start with you.
Oh my God.
Because you've probably studied these names way more than I
have. To me, there's no one that I see as omissions. Not really any surprises either. I mean, I just want to say I love this Ivan. Just have both
all
first
the
and last
are
names.
The best thing ever.
So good. I also like the Amadeus Lombardi, but names
Top
aside,
tier.
I don't see anyone that I'm surprised being there, and really, there's no one that's, from what I can see, there's no one that is missing. Although there are some USHL guys that, you know, or NCAA. Well, it's NCAA, so they can't go.
Yeah.
They have to pay their own way to come here. So there's no NCAA for that reason. Just if anyone's wondering why there's no college guys, that's usually why Canucks can't see any NCAA guys, because they have to pay to go. So yeah, but other than that, a lot of the guys I was expecting to see.
Yeah, you bring that up, the college guys, because, you know, names like Shai Byam and Red Savage, you know, are kind of names that I thought might have had chances to make a splash, maybe make the AHL team this season. So it's kind of notable that they are not there. All right, Devin, over to you. Any surprising names on this list other than how I pronounce them?
Yeah, I think that's the most surprising part.
You can tell I prepared for that segment right now.
I think you know, there's not any like there's always guys that are on the roster that, you know, aren't going to be with the team long term. Like, they're pretty much just here to maybe make a name for themselves, earn a tryout with another team, or, you know, whatever. Filler guys, you know, I don't think Jakub is gonna, you know, earn a contract with the Wings, but he's gonna play and maybe earn a contract somewhere else. I don't know. You never know. But omissions, you know, it kind of goes into what Matt was saying with the NCAA guys. There's even guys over in Europe that, like, they're playing, you know, in their leagues right now, so that's why they can't come over. It would have been great to have seen you know, Marco Kasper play with the group, but, you know, he's over in Sweden right now doing his thing, so you can't see him. Same thing with, like, William Wallander. So in a perfect world, we'd be seeing all these guys, but you know, it's just not how the world works. I think I'll just say real quick that I'm really excited about the defense just in general. There's a lot of guys on there that should be, you know, obviously Edmondson's going to be pushing for an NHL spot. And then even guys like Johansson, Sabrango, and Vero, if they're not pushing for NHL jobs, they're going to be pushing to make the Griffins a really good team this year. This is kind of their first opportunity to establish some chemistry with each other and show what the future of Detroit's defense is going to look like. So with no offense given to the forwards, because I'm excited about a few of those guys too. The defense is who I am really, really excited to see play at this tournament.
Oh, I 1000% agree. This defensive core is extremely exciting just looking at it on paper, but more so like imagining what it could be in the next few years. So good call out there. All right, Logan, last words on the prospect corner or tournament for right now, or the roster. Any surprising names on the list or notable omissions?
Nothing big either way, really. It seems kind of like everyone you would expect to be there is there, aside from people that couldn't be there. Like, I would love to see Carter Mazur show up and just
Niederbach would have been fun to see there.
Yeah, totally. Like, there'd be some fun players to watch, but you know, that can't happen. So we just got to enjoy who's there. I'm excited. I'm so confident he's going to try it at least once. But Amadeus Lombardi in development camp scrimmages for the Red Wings after the draft, if you remember, he scored like a lacrosse move or
Zorro,
Mike Leg or Zorro or Michigan, whatever you want to call it. And it was pretty sweet. I mean, it's just a development camp scrimmage, but this is also not like actually important. So I'm pretty confident he's going to try it. And if he hits it on another team, that's so much more fun than hitting it against your own team in development camp. So I'm keeping my eyes on him. But then the next player I'm most excited for is Donovan Sabrango, because he was excellent at the World Juniors. And it honestly kind of feels like they're bringing like a ringer in, because he's played 2 years in the AHL already. He's going to be better than most people there. He's just going to shut everyone down. And that's kind of fun. I like that stuff. I like defense personally. So it'll be fun to watch him frustrate people and hopefully develop some chemistry with some of those other guys that he'll play with in Grand Rapids, hopefully play with in Detroit someday. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I feel good about the team. They seem pretty good.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point there about developing that chemistry. This is an opportunity for them to kind of get the Grand Rapids Griffins training camp jump started.
Yeah.
By getting these guys to play together. And I also think, like you said, this is a chance for Springo to kind of come up and be that ringer and shut down and kind of, you know, again, at the World Juniors, he was kind of like that that men among boys, sorry. And so I think this is another opportunity for Detroit to throw in that type of situation, say, okay, we need you to dominate, go dominate. And it's a way for them to really kind of test his mettle there, so to speak. So good call out there, Logan.
Real quick, I do want to also throw it out there. I'm really, really interested to see how Kosa performs in this tournament.
Yes.
Because last year he dropped the ball big time. Everyone was really excited to see him play, and he kind of just did not look good at all.
And I think
and I'm sure he remembers.
I think you could say the same about the World Juniors though too.
And the World Juniors, and even like at development camp, he did look the best. So Kosa should be entering this tournament with something to prove. And I'm hoping to see him prove it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, that's going to bring us over to one of our personal favorite segments that we haven't done in a while, but this is our comment corner. So one of our listeners, Brett Anderson, thank you for the question, asks, with the new coaching staff, several new players, and all that goes into it, how many games seem realistic to get this team to gel for the length of the season? He's imagining there likely won't be tinkering for at least a quarter of the season. So I want to get your thoughts on this. Devin, I'm going to start with you. How many games will it take for this team to get gelling?
You know, it's kind of an interesting question because you never really know, right? Sometimes things just click right away and it's crazy, it's effortless, and you know, it's like there's nothing even whatever. And then sometimes things just never gel, and you end up having to get rid of guys because it just never, you know, really worked. I think that, well, I have the benefit of knowing what we're going to be talking about here after this question, so I don't want to answer a question ahead of time. But I do think, for lack of a better word, without saying too much, I do think that there will be some tinkering that goes on throughout the season because, not only are there a bunch of new faces, but like the question says, there's a new coach, and there's a new coach that has to figure out what he likes and doesn't like about the lineup, who fits where, and there's a new system, all sorts of things like that. I think that theoretically, you want, around the quarter mark of the season for things to kind of be at least semi-set, right? There's at least some consistency to be found, and you kind of have at least a good idea of where players fit and where they don't fit. But like I said, I would not be surprised if it's kind of an ongoing thing where, you tinker with things here and there. And that's, that doesn't even mention injuries, because those are going to happen, and that's going to force you to, kind of mess with things too. I think, like I said, I think the quarter mark is kind of a good benchmark. You should have, some pretty set lines at that point. But to kind of reiterate what I've already said, it's going to be an ongoing process because there's guys fighting for spots. There's guys fighting for spots in Grand Rapids, and there's guys who are inevitably going to be trade bait. So it's going to be kind of a moving target, so to speak.
I absolutely agree. It's hard to predict, but you're 100% right. It's going to take some time for that process to develop. Logan, over to you. How many games do you think it will be for this team to find their gel and their mojo, so to speak?
I mean, I think, Devin, you hit the nail on the head. Like, quarter way, 15, 20 games or so, you really want to have an idea with all these new players and new coaches, multiple new coaches on the bench. Like, you really need to have an idea of the team's identity and what the lineup needs to look like for you to succeed. And I was thinking about two good recent examples of both the examples you had, Devin, where it works out perfectly and it doesn't. And one of those is the Vegas Golden Knights in their first season.
Yeah.
Something just clicked. Brand new coach. I mean, it's a different situation because it's literally everyone was new to each other, but brand new coach, tons of players who hadn't played with each other, and they bought into the system the coach had for them, and they fought for each other, and they had that incredible run. And then on the other side is the Seattle Kraken. in their inaugural season, where nothing seemed to go the right way. They got their team set up, and they got Philip Grubauer in free agency, which was a huge get. Everyone thought, well, a lot of people thought that was going to be a huge difference maker. And it's looking like a real stinker of a contract right now. But, you know, it's goaltending. You can never predict that year to year. So I'm sure he'll bounce back to some extent. But it just never quite clicked for them. The team chemistry never, you know, seemed to gel. And they traded their captain at the trade deadline in Mark Giordano. So I don't know, training camp, preseason, you hope that Derek Lalonde will confirm that he likes the first line and maybe like a defense pairing or two, and then experiment, try it out. I don't know. It's going to take some time to figure out what works for him, what works for the players. If they can do it 15 games or so, that'd be great. Then if you're doing okay by then, you're still alive in the playoff race. If that's what you're going for. So yeah, they got to figure out by about 15-20 though.
All right. So another quarter of the season mark. Spot should have it figured out from Logan. Matt, over to you. What are your thoughts on Brent's question about how many games it will take for this team to gel?
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, 20, 25 games. Usually that's when most teams, you look at it and that's the benchmark. We always write articles around the 25 game mark saying, you know, this is what's working, this is what's not working. It's scary though, when you look at, you know, historically by November, you know, Thanksgiving in the States, anyone that's in the playoffs usually make the playoffs, and anyone who's out of it usually doesn't. So it's like, it's scary to think how close that is to the start of the season. And you're looking like, oh, well, I'm going to have an uphill to climb only a month or two into the season. So 20 games, I mean, that puts you That puts you already towards November-ish. So, I mean, it is a big benchmark to look at. You know, most teams, especially if there's a lot of new faces, it may take a little longer to gel because, I mean, some of these players never played together before. So it's going to be difficult to kind of get that going, but we'll see. I mean, but 25 games, I think, is always the one I look at for any team. It's like, if you're not doing well after the 25 game mark, you're going to have a hard road to make the playoffs. If that's what you want to do. But, you know, this team has a lot of, like you say, a lot of new guys are in it. So, I mean, the lines are going to be different. But like, I think it was Logan that you said about the first line, or Devin, one of you said that, with the first line being at least Lalonde to be okay with the first line at least. And then maybe there's still some shuffling, but, you know, he has a lot more pieces to work with than Blashill did. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out. But I agree. I think it's the 20-25 game mark.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate a couple things that you said, Matthew and Logan. You know, Matt, like you said, it's going to be a better situation for the Red Wings to be in this year because Lalonde has way more weapons to work with. But at the same time, the top, you know, two lines are fairly well established. At least, you know, there's the top six forwards and the bottom six forwards. And then within those six, you can kind of do your tinkering or whatnot. But Logan, like you said, it's going to come down to how the team buys into Lalonde's system. And if they are enthusiastic and ready to go and work for him and ready to buy in, then no matter what he puts out there, they will be working to make it work together. And then from there, it can be slight tinkering and then, you know, fine tuning adjustments. But I think you're all right. The quarter mark of the season definitely needs to be where the team has found some sort of identity. If they haven't by by Thanksgiving in November, like you said, Matthew, then yeah, it's going to be a very, very long road for the Red Wings in the second half of the season. All right. Well, thank you, Brent Anderson, for that question. And with that assist, it sends us on our final rush of the day. All right. Matthew, I'm going to start with you. Aside from Simon Edvinsson, who are you most excited to watch at the prospect tournament?
Oh, there's actually a few guys. Like, I've mentioned this guy a few times before, but Emil Viro. I'm excited to watch him. Like I say, he's not a flashy guy, but I like watching just good solid defense and being quiet out there watching him. That's why I love Chris Tanev in Vancouver so much, because that's what he did. He just quietly did his job. That's what Emil Vero is going to be in the NHL. So he's my biggest one to watch in the prospect tournament.
All right. For me, the most intriguing storyline will be Sebastian Cossa, but the one most exciting is Amadeus Lombardi. Devin?
Most excited for me has to be Albert Johansson. I'm hoping that he kind of emerges as the second best guy. Yeah, choo-choo. You're predicting the future here. I'm hoping that he emerges as like the second best defenseman out of that group.
Excellent. Logan?
I'm going to go with Cossa. We didn't see him a whole lot at the World Juniors. I want to see how he bounces back. It could be really fun or scary.
I think that bounce back absolutely is going to be huge, because he had just come off kind of a subpar prospect tourney or development camp. And then, the first game, it didn't seem like he played awful, but it was good enough for the Canadian brass to say, see you later. All right. Question number 2. Will Lalonde use the line blender a lot this season, or will he mostly stick with consistent lines? Logan?
Blend it up, baby. I don't care. Just try everything. Like, the top line should be set, but the middle 6 is a puzzle he's got to figure out. Try whatever you want. I don't care.
Love it. Devin?
I think I wouldn't say he's going to use the blender, but I do think he's going to tinker quite a bit. So somewhere in the middle, basically.
Okay. You're going with a smooth icy or whatever. I don't know, like a puree, or no, that's the other way. Oh yeah, I guess it's on me. I was going to skip over to Matthew. I'm going to say at the beginning of the season, I think especially during training camp or preseason games, you're going to see a lot of the blender. I think by the time we hit mid to late October, those lines will start to be more consistent. Matthew?
Took my answer exactly what you said. I think training camp is going to be the one. He's going to do a lot of blender, which a lot of teams do, and then kind of set lines. I don't want to take too much of what Tampa Bay did because he wasn't the head coach, but Tampa Bay usually had pretty set lines. So I think if he has anything from that, I think he'll eventually have those set lines, and that's something I really like. So,
absolutely. Great answers, boys. All right. In case we haven't convinced you with our first 2 plugs, sign up for the Morning Skate, the morning hockey newsletter delivered to your inbox Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you want updates on the Women's World Championships, upcoming training camps, or you enjoy random hockey trivia, the Morning Skate is the perfect way to start your day. Sign up at morningskate.io. Make sure to like and subscribe to our Hockey Writers channel. Follow along with all of our season previews at the Hockey Writers podcast channel, and follow along with all of our writers on their social networks. That's it for this edition of The Grind Line. From all of us here at the Hockey Writers and our team here on The Grind, we will see you next time.